Hold on to your hats, folks, because the ocean's most terrifying legend just became reality. Marine biologists have confirmed what was once dismissed as myth. The Megalodon, the colossal prehistoric shark, is alive. This heart-stopping revelation, backed by compelling evidence and expert analysis, has sent shockwaves through the scientific community and ignited a primal fear in us all. Prepare to dive into the depths of this groundbreaking discovery. Are we ready to share our oceans with the apex predator of all time?
At number 10, we have a tiger shark surrounding divers.
Stop that up, we got a ton of sharks down here. This area is absolutely swarming with the apex predators. Sharks on your right.
Yeah, that sounds like my absolute worst nightmare. Did you guys know that tiger sharks are most likely to attack a human even if they aren't provoked? Oh, and let's not forget about their razor-sharp teeth that are literally designed for shredding their food. So yeah, needless to say, these divers are in a whole lot of trouble. Just take a look at this next clip.
Boris, do you copy? Yeah, you guys watch your back.
Stalked by a great white shark, it jumps onto our list at number 9.
Was stalked by a 4.5-metre great white at Burns Beach. He managed to survive the ordeal, which lasted 9 minutes, protecting himself with his spear gun.
Is this real life? This is way too terrifying. Luckily, this guy did a really good job at protecting himself from becoming this shark's next meal, but it went on for 9 minutes. That must have felt like an eternity to him. Apparently, if you find yourself face to face with a great white shark, you're never supposed to turn your back on him, and you should go for his eyes, not his nose. It's also a good idea that you don't splash around, because they might confuse you for a seal, and if that's the case, you really could be their next meal. Surfer battles with a great white shark. This scary moment takes us to number 8.
In the opening minutes of the final heat of the World Surf League's J-Bay Open in South Africa, it wasn't the competition that 3-time world champion Mick Fanning had to worry about, but the wildlife.
This pro surfer got a lot more than he bargained for when he had an extremely close encounter with a shark in the middle of a surfing competition, and this was in South Africa. Maybe the shark just wanted his autograph, or maybe he just wanted to learn how to surf. But all jokes aside with this one, I think the surfer handled himself really well, and he got the heck out of there. We have to remember that the ocean belongs to the sharks, and we are actually the ones invading their natural habitat. Little boats and big sharks do not mix at all, and you know what? I'll show you guys why in at number 7.
Fighting the rope.
If the rope is severed, the boat will become highly unstable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the minute that this boat was manufactured and put into the open ocean, it was unstable. Why the heck are you plopping this tiny little Lego boat out into a shark-infested water? Do you guys have a death wish? This boat looks like it belongs to a bathtub and not the Atlantic Ocean. Seriously though, the Titanic couldn't even survive the ocean. Why did you think this one could? These shark experts don't seem to know what they're doing. I think it's safe to say that they're gonna need a bigger boat.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Close encounter with one of the largest sharks in the world comes in on this list, next up at number 6. Let me introduce to you guys to Deep Blue. She is believed to be the largest great white shark on record, measuring in at nearly 20 feet long and weighing an astounding 5,000 pounds. Well, these divers got the thrill of a lifetime when they spotted her swimming in the waters near Hawaii. So is this what Grandpa Shark looks like? I'd probably pee my wetsuit, but you know what? No one will know about it because it's hidden. But these divers must have gotten the thrill of a lifetime. They wanted to show the world that even though sharks are considered to be dangerous predators, they should be protected, not feared. This group is pushing for a bill that would ban the killing of sharks and stingrays in Hawaii, and you know what? I really hope it passes.
Number 10, we have the moment that Jaws eats Quint from the classic movie Jaws. Jaws very much set the bar for shark attacks and was the first full-on shark horror franchise. Made in 1975, Jaws was iconic in its day and considered quite the horror film. If if you watch it back now, it's kind of funny because special effects in the 70s aren't quite what they are today, but there is no denying that this is a classic movie. Shortly after the line,
"You're gonna need a bigger boat,"
Jaws comes, bites the boat, and uh-oh, Quint is falling down the listing ship right into Jaws' jaws. Unfortunately, things don't go so well for Quint, who is gobbled up, but not before blood comes spurting out of his mouth. Then he kind of paints the ocean red as he is eaten. Ugh, gruesome. In at number 9, we have some classic decapitation in Swamp Shark. Now, Swamp Shark is a 2011 movie starring a few B-list gems that premiered on US channel Sci-Fi. The concept is essentially about a mutant shark that lives in a swamp that manages to infiltrate some American rivers and lakes. Uh-oh, shark on the loose. It is a glorious romp through the swamp, and there are many classic shark deaths. My favourite is when a guy is spying on a couple making out like a dirty little perv using binoculars, but uh-oh, shark flies over him, nips off his head, blood everywhere, binoculars falling to the ground. I guess this is what you get if you're gonna be a little bit of a pervert. Lesson learned. The shark is a vigilante. He's gonna get you. Sharking it right up at number 8, we have Jerry Springer's death in Sharknado. Now I am sure you have your very own favourite shark attack from the Sharknado series, because never a greater trilogy has ever existed, let's be fair. Now if you aren't aware of Sharknado, firstly, where have you guys been? And secondly, check it out right now. Right now. Maybe after the video, but then check it out. Sharknado is a series of films about sharks that manage to fly out of the sea, falling on to LA. I mean, sure, you've got Pizza Shark, you've got sharks that are chainsawed in half, you've got TV hosts stabbing sharks with heels, but my favourite Sharknado death is when Jerry Springer gets it. Jerry Springer plays a tourist at an amusement park. He wants his picture taken with what is a presumably dead shark on a rope. Uh-oh, as the picture's taken, shark wakes up, shark eats Jerry. Sad times. Getting brutal here at number 7, we have the shark eating a model in Avalanche Sharks. Wow, Avalanche Sharks. Avalanche Sharks, what a movie! This is very much a shark film for those who like a bit of snow and for those who like seeing ladies in bikinis. Rated as just 7 out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, Avalanche Sharks is about a bikini contest blighted by a shark avalanche. I mean, shark problems. Now the best death scene is when a model is walking along bitching at her boyfriend, just being like me 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 me, but then a shark comes out of the snow and just eats her. Uh-oh, and she's literally like bitten in half. We see her corpse like kind of moving along the ground trying to get help before she dies. It is brutal, it is gruesome, it is a good shark death. Getting snappy here at number 6, we have Jaws the Bond villain versus a shark in James Bond, The Spy Who Loved Me. I absolutely love this. Not only is Jaws one of the best Bond villains ever, he looks like a shark. He has a fight with a shark. Yes to sharks. After Bond captures Jaws with a metal detector, he is dropped in a pool to face a shark who Bond obviously thinks can kill him. But he would be wrong, because Jaws is badass, and you know what? He bites that shark to death. That's right, the human kills the shark.
Moving into number 5, a tiger shark wants to become friends.
Yikes. That was close.
If I was diving in the ocean, actively looking for sharks, you best believe that I'm gonna be decked out from head to toe in some chainmail, and I'd probably be locked up in a shark-proof cage. I don't know if people are really brave or just really dumb, because you just can't predict what an animal in the wild is capable of doing. I think I'm much more suited at watching these close shark encounters from the comfort of my own home on YouTube.
Circled the group, making an eclectic mix of predators. And although they were pretty good size, they nearly vanished in plain sight.
Great white and his massive teeth takes us to number 4. No, I'm not talking about the shark from Jaws, but this next shark is pretty comparable. Does this diver realize that a big chunk of his cage is missing? How is he missing that right now? I mean, what the heck is the point? He's literally in the water with a great white shark, and the back of his cage is open and exposed to his massive teeth. Am I the only one that has a problem with this? Maybe the shark thought that he was stuck in the cage and he wanted to set him free. An uninvited guest swims onto our list at number 3. Okay, so imagine that you're visiting Mexico and you decide to do a touristy thing and go on a shark cage diving excursion in the open ocean. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I'll show you.
He's in the cage. Oh my god.
Yeah, you just saw that correctly. The shark managed to jump inside of the cage with the divers. That must have been super traumatizing for both the divers and the shark. Clearly the shark just wanted to get the heck out of there, and the divers were probably thinking that they were going to die. I really feel bad for the shark because he ended up getting injured, and I hope that these tourists were able to get their money back. And for the shark, I would give his money back as well. Shark jumps onto a boat in at number 2.
How you gonna do it? You can't hold on to him. Well, how?
These people found this extremely funny, but I don't at all. This poor shark is trapped on their boat, probably gasping for air. If I was on that boat, I would try everything I could to get him back into the water because I'm sure he's more scared of us than we are of him. Thankfully, he made it back into the water, and I'm sure he'll think twice about jumping onto any more boats. A close call tops our list in at number 1.
He comes in fast.
Mitchell, look out!
This scary footage was captured from the waters surrounding New Zealand and Australia. Apparently they spent $10,000 on a fake seal that's used to attract sharks into the area. Who in their right mind will drop thousands of dollars on something that can literally put them in harm's way? Something seems fishy about this whole situation, so this guy had a camera wedged between him and the great white shark's teeth. I mean, no thanks to that. You guys are all crazy. In the words of Chris Crocker, leave the sharks alone.
Then this really huge shark came in to have a look. He was so big, we nicknamed him Colossus.
Halfway at number 5 is getting pretty crazy. We have a shark versus a plane in Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus is a movie of dubious credibility that tells the tale of a deep sea shark and an octopus who are battling it out for power of the ocean. Innocent people are caught in the sharky crossfire. Now for me, the greatest scene is very near the beginning. There's a plane flying in the sky, people are going on holiday, but look out the window, there's a shark jumping out the ocean, takes one big bite of the plane and they go down. What a classic shark attack. Returning to a classic here at number 4, we have a Skinny Dipper versus Jaws from Jaws. If I were placing this list in order of, genuinely scary this could happen to me shark attacks, then this would probably be at number 1, as this is one of the best shark attack scenes I've seen in terms of the way it's shot. This iconic moment in Jaws sees a young teen called Chrissy who just wants to skinny dip in the ocean like any carefree hussy. She whips off her clothes, she's like, "Oh, join me in the sea." She gets into the ocean, she's having a lovely time, but upshot, an amazing shot by the way, the music comes in, da-da, 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 and poor Chrissy is then dragged underwater by a shark. It is powerful stuff. This is a really well directed scene. Good on you, Steven Spielberg. In at number 3, we have Samuel Jackson's Deep Blue Death. Made in 1999, Deep Blue Sea is a film about scientists searching for the cure for Alzheimer's in an isolated research unit. But there are sharks everywhere. Samuel plays researcher Russell Franklin, who delivers a moving speech towards the end of the film. Personally, I'm watching this thinking Samuel mate, you're standing a bit close next to that pool of water and we know there are sharks on the loose, but I'm sure you got this. He finishes his speech about how everyone needs to stick together, but wait.
First, we're gonna seal off this.
Unexpected shark death, Samuel is gobbled up. Then we have an underwater shot of 2 sharks playing with his carcass, tearing it apart. I mean, for me, this is a brutal shark attack. In at number 2, one of my favorite shark moments in a film ever is frigging sharks with frigging lasers on their frigging heads from Austin Powers. Short and sweet, but what could be better than a shark laser combo? Nothing. Those that know the Austin Powers franchise will know that all Dr. Evil wants for Christmas/life is
Sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
He says that every creature deserves a warm meal. After a series of unfortunate events that involve a distinct lack of sharks and abundance of ill-tempered sea bass,
Right. They are mutated sea bass.
his son Scott Evil finally comes through. They're revealed in their tanks, they're having a lovely time with their laser headpieces, and then a sailor walks along and uh-oh, boom! He is obliterated. I mean, this has to be one of the best shark attacks ever because lasers. Okay guys, so we have reached that point in our most amazing top 10 best movie shark attacks ever, the things we have seen. We have seen sharks eating airplanes, we have seen frigging sharks with frigging lasers, we've seen like sharks decapitating people, eating skinny dippers, but what could possibly be at our #1 spot in the best movie shark attacks ever? Oh, drum roll. At #1, we have a man who drinks a shark, eating him from the inside from the movie Ghost Shark. What a classic. 2013 Canadian horror movie Ghost Shark was arguably even more ridiculous than Sharknado. Essentially, the premise with Ghost Shark is that a shark killed on a fishing trip comes back from the spirit world seeking revenge. Now, this shark doesn't need to live in the sea, any body of water is good enough. Now, there are some classic deaths in this movie, one involving a slip and slide which is priceless, but there is one clear winner in the movie for me. This happens to be one of the most original and hilarious shark attacks that has ever happened in a movie ever. It is ingenious. If Ghost Sharks was real, you probably wouldn't go near the bath or the pool or the pond, but you know, you wouldn't think about not drinking water. In the movie, a guy is in a police station. He takes a drink from the water cooler, but uh-oh, he doesn't know that Ghost Shark is living in there. As he takes a sip, it becomes clear that Ghost Shark is inside him. Ghost Shark then proceeds to chomp on his insides. The guy spits blood, and then, the creme de la creme, Ghost Shark grows, expands, splits the guy in half, and emerges like a phoenix from the ashes as the Ghost Shark. I mean, this is crazy, but I love it. What a shark attack. What an unexpected shark attack. I mean, there's just blood and guts and sharks everywhere. What more could you want from a movie shark?
And spot we have the TikTok shark. In May of last year, someone on TikTok called Alex Albrecht, who is a marine biodiversity student as well as a musician, shared a video on the app that had people seriously shocked. The TikTok shows a massive shark lurking around the ship that Alex was on, which is said to have just been off of the coast of Massachusetts at the time. The ship was full of research students when this massive shark made its appearance, many of which either screamed or had some sort of expletive to say in response. Another TikTok user asked in the comments if the shark in the video is a Megalodon, considering how absolutely huge this thing was. Was this an actual Megalodon? Likely not, but hey, I'm not the marine life student here, so who am I to say? In our #9 spot today we have the cray fisherman. David Stead is an Australian naturalist, and in his book titled Sharks and Rays of the Australian Seas, he details an encounter with a shark that some have taken to believe is the legendary Megalodon herself. Apparently this incident happened in 1981 to a group of cray fishermen that David spoke with. These fishermen were absolutely terrified of a shark they saw in their fishing grounds, which were just off of Broughton Island. They were so scared, in fact, that they refused to return to the fishing spot for days. All the men agreed that the shark was monstrous and that it was most definitely a shark, not a whale. The men explained that they had never seen a shark of that size before, and considering how they were all seasoned fishermen who had all had their fair share of encounters with sharks, whales, and all of the terrifying things that the ocean has to offer, how frightened they were really did leave quite the impression. In our #8 spot today we have two specimens. This story comes from all the way back in 1869 when an Irish scientist headed out on an expedition to Seychelles. It is said that he went there to study fish, but man, he was not prepared for the specimens he would go on to study. It is said that he found one that was over 15 meters, which is already a whopping almost 50 feet, but the other one really took the cake. The second specimen it is said that he found was alleged to have been 23 meters long, which is a massive 75 feet. Since this was so so long ago there wasn't any official documentation of it, but if there had been, the second one would hold the record for being the largest ever recorded. That is absolutely wild. Seeing it is one thing, but imagine being able to actually study it. In our number 7 spot today we have the sailors. This gigantic shark sighting is said to have taken place in the 1960s just off of the edge of Australia's Great Barrier Reef. According to author B.C. Cartmel in his book Let's Go Fossil Shark Tooth Hunting, the sailors involved in this sighting initially refused to talk about it because of the fear of being teased for being afraid of what they had seen. After some time, however, they began to speak about the incident. They explained that while on board their 85-foot ship, they needed to weigh anchor in order to conduct some engine repairs. While this was ongoing, the crew became absolutely shocked when they saw the biggest shark they had ever seen slowly swimming past their completely stuck ship. Just like the last one, all the men agreed that they were not mistaking a whale and that it was indeed a shark. They also said that this shark was so large it was rivaling the boat in size. That is absolutely massive. Whether it really was a Megalodon or not, whatever shark they saw that day certainly wasn't the average size. In our number 6 spot today we have the battle scar. This story is a little different than the others on today's list, and it started with the sighting of a great white shark. This 15-foot long shark was spotted swimming just off of Isla Guadalupe in Mexico, but what was so striking about this great white in particular was the absolutely savage wound it had on its side. This huge bite mark had people speculating as to what in the world could have caused it. I mean, there aren't very many predators to great whites, so it's a pretty rare occasion to see such a huge bite mark right on the side of one, and people were doubting whether or not another shark would have done this to one of its own species. There definitely are reasons for why this could have been an attack from another shark, but of course people took this as a possible sign that maybe there's something bigger lurking in the waters. If the Megalodon somehow isn't actually extinct and just manages to evade any sort of confirmation of its existence, it certainly would need a ton of food to survive, which makes big fish like great whites a perfect snack. The Megalodon is, however, one of the most powerful predators to have ever lived on our planet, so if this bite really was from a Megalodon, it's surprising that this great white made it out alive.
One number 10, with a reminder that not everything in the ocean is out to get you, and it's a story about dolphins saving humans from a shark attack. In 2004, a group of lifeguards were swimming off the coast of New Zealand when a great white shark moved in to attack them. They were totally unaware of the danger they were in when suddenly a pod of dolphins appeared out of nowhere and started frantically circling them. They kept circling for 14 minutes and the group had no idea what was going on until one of the guys spotted a shark just 2 meters below them. It had been following them the whole time, ready to attack, and the dolphins had been circling, ready to defend them. They got to a rescue boat and the shark swam off, but the dolphins continued to circle them until all the swimmers were safely aboard. When you're in trouble in the water, you call on a lifeguard, but when you're a lifeguard, you call on a dolphin. There was no such lucky escape though for the people in at number 9 with the tragic tale of the USS Indianapolis. The fate of this ship is known as the worst naval disaster in US history. After being torpedoed by a Japanese submarine during World War II, the USS Indianapolis sunk in just 12 minutes. There were 1,200 men on board and approximately 300 went down with the ship. But the fate that awaited the survivors was perhaps even worse. The remaining 900 men were stranded in shark-infested waters with no lifeboats and almost no food and water. The shark attacks were brutal and constant, day in and day out. The men were picked off one by sharks that could smell their blood in the water from so far away. By the time they were rescued, there were only 317 survivors. And some estimates put the shark fatalities as high as 150. Alright, so we know shark attacks can be brutal, but how big can they be? Well, at number 8, it's the shark that was said to be the size of a dinosaur. Witnesses at a South African holiday resort watched in horror as a gigantic shark attacked a man called Lloyd Skinner. The attack took place off Fish Hoek Beach in Cape Town as Lloyd was pulled under by a great white and pulled out into sea. Greg Copeland was a witness who posted to Twitter that day, and he said that shark was huge, like dinosaur huge. The whole thing happened in just a moment as Lloyd stood chest deep in the water adjusting his goggles, the same goggles that were the only thing investigators could find of him after the attack. Shark attacks are already terrifying enough without the thought of them being dinosaur sized as well. Alright guys, so since the rise of the GoPro camera, it's no surprise that a couple of shark attacks have been caught on film with them. But not many of them are as good as this GoPro film of an actual shark attack underwater in at number In the video we see the diver is minding his own business in a coral reef, just picking out random fish specimens to presumably take home and study, when a shark comes out of nowhere and goes for a bite on him. As fast as the diver can turn, the shark moves faster. It circles him repeatedly as he tries to stab it with the same thing he was just using to collect fish, but the shark is rapid and seems to dodge everything the guy throws at it. This whole thing is crazy to see. I mean, shark attacks are rare, catching them on film is pretty rare, and to have one this close up, well, that's just like unheard of. In this case it was kind of expected though. I mean, as one guy pointed out in the comments, he was kind of holding a massive jar of fish. Yeah, it seems like the fastest way to attract a shark if you ask me. If our unbelievable shark attacks have been just too unbelievable for you so far, then how about this one at number 6, where a shark attack was seen on live TV by thousands of people. Professional surfer Mike Fanning was taking part in the 2015 World Surf League Championship when the camera captured what might be the most shocking moment of his career. A huge tiger shark approached him from behind as he sat in the water, waiting for his turn to compete. Before he even had time to realise what was going on, the shark attacked him, much to the horror of all the spectators. Mike said that the shark punched him in the back, and so he just instinctively started kicking and managed to get to safety on the beach. I've never heard of a shark punching people, but I have heard of people punching sharks, which is exactly what happened in our number
5 spot today we have a world record. Basking sharks are known for being one of the largest fish in the ocean, and that is exactly why the largest one ever recorded was definitely something to write home about. In 1851, in the Bay of Fundy, which sits between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia here in Canada, a basking shark was caught in a herring net. This shark was measured to be at least 40 feet long, which is astoundingly large, and it certainly confused those who had caught it at first. I can imagine that they likely also thought that they had some kind of living fossil caught up in their net, but nope, instead they just set a new world record. In our number 4 spot today we have the demon. There are many stories and alleged sightings of what is now referred to as the quote Black Demon of Cortez, which is said to be a massive black shark seen off of Mexico's Baja coast. One story in particular regarding this elusive shark comes from a fisherman named Eric Mack. He had reported that one day while sailing he felt his boat begin to rock, which immediately gave him the feeling that something was awry. Eric was even further startled when he explained that he saw a massive towering tail sticking at least 5 feet out of the water. The stories of this shark are so infamous that it was even the focus of an episode of a History Channel show called Monster Quest. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this video we'll talk about some more of the sightings surrounding the demon. In our number 3 spot today we have Deep Blue. This shark is in fact not a megalodon, but it definitely is a more modern contender. Deep Blue is the name of a great white shark who is most definitely one of the greatest ever recorded, at least in our lifetime. This colossal monster is the largest great white shark ever caught on camera by scientists. She is measured to be 20 feet long, 8 feet high, and about 2.5 tons, and while this isn't all that huge compared to her massive prehistoric cousin, it certainly is no small feat. Rumors of her existence have been spread since as far back as the 1990s, but it wasn't until 2014 that she was officially caught on camera and documented. Researchers at the time were in the midst of studying tiger sharks, but she made her grand appearance after scavenging some food from a sperm whale carcass nearby. In our number 2 spot today we have Bigger Than the Boat. Zane Grey is a man who is a novelist, and he is definitely best known for his adventure novels, but it is also said that he was a deep sea angler, and it was during one of his fishing adventures that his Megalodon sighting came. In the novel, which is titled Megalodon, Fact or Fiction, writer Rick Emmer speaks of this incident, saying that Zane claimed to have seen, quote, one of the man-eating monsters of the South Pacific. It is said that whatever kind of shark he saw, it was a shark that was much longer than his boat, which was somewhere from 30 to 40 feet. He also said that this shark was yellow and green, and that it had a few white spots. Most notably, however, he said that the shark had a massive square head, and that it had, quote, immense pectoral fins. This is all to say that whether he saw a megalodon or not, whatever he saw was not just a harmless great white shark. What do you guys think? Perhaps a Megalodon sighting, or just one of the tall, exciting tales told by Mr. Gray. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Mariana Trench sighting. A few years ago, a video began circulating the internet, and it shows a gigantic shark scouring the seafloor. People online quickly put a story to the video saying that allegedly this is a Megalodon that was caught on camera at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The creature is seen swimming over top of what is apparently an abandoned shark cage, and the video seems to be enough to have convinced many people. The video certainly is compelling, and whatever we see is most definitely terrifying to look at, but with my very limited knowledge of anything that lives in the sea, it's tough to say anything further. While some people swear that this is solid proof, others have brought up sharks that may have a similar appearance to the one seen in the video.
5. We're in Hawaii in 2012, where Joshua Holly was enjoying some surfing when he saw a shark's dorsal fin appear on his left. Next thing he knows, he had a popping sensation in his foot as a shark bit him. As it came up on his other side, he did the most badass thing ever. He punched the shark in the face not once, but twice. Apparently that worked because the shark just swam off and he saved his own life. He also told the shark, "I'm not gonna die today," which I think is definitely what saved him. The shark was probably just like, "Oh, you're not dying today, sorry, my bad, I thought you were, I was gonna kill you, sorry." Alright, I think it's time to move on to our number 4, which is the pig basket atrocities. It's another World War II story here, where 200 Allied soldiers were captured by the Japanese and put into 3-foot-long bamboo pig baskets. They were then taken out to sea and thrown overboard one by one to the waiting sharks. The murder of these prisoners became known as the pig basket atrocities and is known as one of the worst shark-related killings in history. The worst part is the general who was responsible for all this got just 8 years in prison. I kind of want the guy from the last story to punch this one in the face because he's a bigger threat to human life than any shark is. Alright, time to cheer up. In at number 3, we've got the inspirational and quite frankly unbelievable story of Bethany Hamilton. Bethany was just 13 years old when a shark bit her arm clean off her torso. She said it was so clean and painless that she didn't even notice it until she struggled over to her friend and muttered the words, "I think a shark just attacked me." Bethany said it literally came out of the blue and there was not the slightest hint of danger leading up to the loss of her arm. Her best friend's father said he couldn't believe what was happening but quickly sprung into action to get Bethany to the shore. Thankfully, Bethany made a full recovery and has been heralded all around the world for her amazing bravery. This is definitely one of the quietest, cleanest and possibly most instantly life-changing shark attacks I've ever heard of. Alright, so we've talked about sharks being fought off on camera, but how about a shark being fought off with a camera? In at number 2. Conservationist Russell Easton was photographing a 12-foot shark in the Bahamas when it got a little too close for comfort. Out of nowhere, the shark swam right towards Russell and went for a big juicy bite, but thankfully there was a camera between them. In these pictures we can see Russell grappling with the beast as it chomped down on his camera. He said he managed to get one picture of the inside of the shark before the struggle became too much. Russell did what he could with what he had and shoved the camera into the shark's mouth in the hope that this would deter it from attacking him anymore. It did the trick and Russell used a few vital seconds that he bought to get to safety. Alright guys, so far we've learnt there's a number of ways of dealing with these unbelievable shark attacks. You can hope there's some dolphins nearby, punch one in the face or even shove a camera down its throat, but perhaps the best way to deal with it is just to be a total badass, which is exactly what Rodney Fox did. He's our number 1. Rodney was just 13 when his story took place. He was defending his Australian spearfishing title in 1953 when a great white shark grabbed his torso and dragged him through the water upside down. He's obviously donezo at that point. Yeah, he's dead, there's no way he can survive that. No, he jumped onto the shark and gouged its eyes out. The shark swam away but then eventually came back again and dragged Rodney underwater. It actually dragged him to the bottom of the ocean where Rodney almost drowned, but he managed to hold on, keep fighting and eventually got back to the surface where he was rescued by a rescue boat. He suffered massive injuries to his ribcage, lungs and stomach, but after 4 hours of surgery and 360 stitches, Rodney walked away with one of the greatest shark stories of all time. And if he didn't have the scars to believe it, I probably wouldn't have believed it, but he does, so I do.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the Demon. There are many stories and alleged sightings of what is now referred to as the Black Demon of Cortez, which is said to be a massive black shark seen off of Mexico's Baja coast. One story in particular regarding this elusive shark comes from a fisherman named Eric Mack. He had reported that one day while sailing he felt his boat begin to rock, which immediately gave him the feeling something was awry. Eric was even further startled when he explained that he saw a massive towering tail sticking at least 5 feet out of the water. The stories of this shark are so infamous that it was even the focus of an episode of a History Channel show called Monster Quest. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this video we'll talk about some more of the sightings around the demon. In our number 9 spot today, we have the prehistoric monster. Back in 1959, a fisherman named Tex Geddes and his friend James Gavin were boating somewhere just off of the coast of Scotland. It is said that during their time out to sea, they encountered a sea monster that neither of them had ever seen before. They described its head as being sort of turtle-shaped, and that it was a quote hellish monster of prehistoric times, and said that it was breathing heavily through a quote large red gash of a mouth. Okay, not exactly a kind description, but definitely a bit of a terrifying one. I think it's important to bring up that we actually don't really know what megalodons look like. We have a sort of idea, but at the end of the day, we only have some fossils, jaws, spines, teeth. It doesn't really leave us that much to work with. While it isn't quite clear what these two men saw for sure, and it's likely that we'll never know, whatever it was definitely wasn't just the average sea creature. In our number 8 spot today, we have the TikTok shark. In May of last year, someone on TikTok called Alex Albrecht, who is a marine biodiversity student as well as a musician, shared a video on the app that had people seriously shocked. The TikTok shows a massive shark lurking around the ship that Alex was on, which is said to have been just off of the coast of Massachusetts at the time. The ship was full of research students when this massive shark made its appearance, many of which either screamed or had some sort of expletive in response. Another TikTok user asked in the comments if the shark in the video is a megalodon, considering how absolutely huge the thing was. Was this an actual megalodon? Likely not, but hey, I'm not the marine biodiversity student here, so who am I to say? In our number 7 spot today, we have snorkeling. Robert Pamperin and a friend, Gerald Lair, were snorkeling off of La Jolla Cove in California in 1959 when Robert was attacked by a shark. It is said to have all happened quite quickly, and Gerald was alerted to the distress when he heard Robert scream. Gerald turned and saw Robert unusually high in the water, and his mask was missing. At this point, Gerald dove under, and this is when he realized exactly what was going on. There was a shark that had Robert in its mouth up to his waist. Unfortunately, there really wasn't much that Gerald could do to stand up to this absolutely massive shark that he described as larger than your average great white. Robert sadly did not survive the event, and by the time rescuers arrived, they were only able to locate one of his fins. In our number 6 spot today, we have the photographer. This is an encounter that occurred just last year in November, basically a year ago. Underwater photographer Darren Verbeck was diving off of the coast of Hawaii's Big Island when he saw what he thought was a school of fish. He began to get closer, I mean the whole photographer thing, and as he got closer he started to think that what he was actually seeing was a tiger shark. He got even closer, and that's when he said, quote, "I kept looking at the head. I'm like, that is not a tiger shark." And it got closer and closer, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Darren continued to get closer to the shark and estimated it to be over 15 feet, which is definitely quite large. He explained that the shark was not acting in a threatening way, so he continued to take his photos and shot as much as he could before the massive shark decided to swim away. Experts explained that the shark was likely in the area because of humpback whales, and honestly, I don't want to see the shark that could take down one of those beasts. In our number 5
At number 10, we're talking about 17-year-old Brian Wilson. His attack is distinguished as the first whose arm completely ripped off. And this is after being attacked by several sharks. This happened on March 6, 2009. He was a 19-year-old French student who was surfing with some friends when he was viciously attacked by a group of hungry sharks. He desperately made his way back to the boat, where his friends were screaming for him, but the group of sharks began biting his legs and eventually succeeded in ripping off his entire arm. He managed to make his way to the boat, but unfortunately moments later he died from the shark-inflicted wounds. Okay, so moving on to this list, into unlucky at this time number 7, we have Lloyd Skinner. He was pulled underwater and dragged out to sea by a shark that was described by a witness as a dinosaur-sized gigantic white shark. This happened at Fishhoek Beach in Cape Town, which is located in South Africa. The shark came towards him at The town believes that this is the shark responsible for all these attacks.
In the spot today we have Deep Blue. This shark is in fact not a megalodon, I'll just be honest about that, but it definitely is a more modern contender. Deep Blue is the name of a great white shark who is most definitely one of the largest ever recorded, at least in our lifetime. This colossal monster is the largest great white shark ever caught on camera by scientists. She is measured to be 20 feet long, 8 feet high, and about 2.5 tons, and while this isn't all that huge compared to her massive prehistoric cousin, it certainly is no small feat. Rumors of her existence have been spread since as far back as the 1990s, but it wasn't until 2014 that she was officially caught on camera and documented. Researchers at the time were in the midst of studying tiger sharks, but she made her grand appearance after scavenging some food from a sperm whale carcass nearby. In our number 4 spot today we have the USS Indianapolis. This is a story that has been considered the worst shark attack in history, which is definitely a horrific thing to think about. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis was an unescorted US warship that was sailing in the Pacific when it was struck by a Japanese torpedo. This had no problem tearing the ship in two, which then meant that 900 sailors were now floating in the ocean waiting for rescue. Over the next 5 days, nearly 600 men lost their lives due to shark attacks. That's either a group of sharks or a few very large, very hungry ones. From the survivors' accounts of what happened over the course of those days, it seemed like an absolutely nightmare situation. This is exactly why it has gone on to be called one of the worst shark attacks in history. In our number 3 spot today we have Rodney Fox. Rodney Fox is a man who is thought of as one of the best spear fishermen in the world. In 1963 he was partaking in the Australian Spearfishing Championships, which were being held just south of Adelaide, when he went through what is widely regarded as, again, one of the worst shark attacks in history. The shark he encountered bit him around the waist, which ended up puncturing his diaphragm, ripping his lungs, and crushing his rib cage. Not only this, but the attack left his organs exposed, so much so that when he finally made it back to shore, those rescuing him had to keep his wetsuit on to ensure that his insides actually stayed on the inside. Despite the fact that Rodney needed at least 4 hours of surgery and about 400 stitches, like many people who have had these sort of terrifying encounters, rather than shying away from sharks in the water, he leaned in. He actually became an advocate for sharks after this. He created the first underwater shark observatory and helped to dispel the rumors that sharks are bad, crazy, scary animals that we should all fear. In our number 2 spot today we have the Jersey Shore. Back in 1916, during the summer season, there were 5 different shark attacks that occurred over the span of 10 days that ended up in the deaths of 4 people. This wasn't something that had been seen before in the area, which of course left people speculating as to why this was happening. There was a heat wave in the area during the time, which likely led to more people being out, enjoying summertime sort of activities, and maybe this attracted the shark, but in the end no one knows for sure because no one even knows what kind of shark is responsible for the attacks in the first place. Luckily, this didn't go on to become a continuous trend, and whatever shark this was, it went on its merry way, or perhaps found another source of food, but this series of attacks definitely kept the public on edge for the weeks and months surrounding. In our number 1 spot today, we have Watson and the shark. For this one, we are headed all the way back to 1749 with a cabin boy named Brooke Watson. Brooke was swimming in the Havana harbor when he had his encounter with a shark. This one grabbed him by his right foot and dragged him underwater. The shark got a second chomp on his foot before a rescue boat was able to come and save him. The sailor on the boat managed to get the shark to back off enough that they could get Brooke out of the water. Brooke lost his lower leg, but his life was saved, which is absolutely the most important part. Brooke's story is not over, however, as he went on to become a member of Parliament and eventually Lord Mayor of England. He was so proud of himself for not only surviving a shark attack, but then going on to earn this title that he commissioned famous artist John Singleton Copley to create a painting called Watson and the Shark, which detailed his terrifying encounter and probably went on to scare a ton of people.
At number 5, this person actually got a lot of attention and
the USA and all of its top-secret military objectives over the last century. Prepare to dive into the world of espionage and a thriller, because this ride is going to be wild. What are you guys waiting for? Click on the video already.